Hi, welcome to StatStuff. I'm Matt Hansen. In this lesson, we'll review how you can visually track various elements within a process using a value stream map, or VSM. As a prerequisite, it could help by first reviewing the lessons on the definition of value-added versus non-value added, and also on work in process, or WIP. But for now, let's begin by defining what is a value stream map.
Well, a value stream map is in many ways like a process map in the sense that it does map the flow of a process, but that's about where the similarities end, because there's so many other differences between value stream maps and process maps, and here's some examples of some of those differences. First of all, value stream maps don't diagram decision points, and they don't diagram the actual detailed process steps in the same way that a process map would. Usually the process steps that are reflected within a value stream map are just grouped together. Also, value stream maps will focus primarily on the timeliness or the efficiency opportunities within the flow of whatever products are flowing through the process. Value stream maps also track the value-added and non-value-added steps, and also process cycle times, tack time, inventory, and staffing. All these are things that are generally not going to be tracked within a process map itself. And as well, value stream maps generally focus on the overall process, that is from beginning to end with the customer, rather than some of those sub-processes that typically would be mapped within a process map. So value stream maps are also ideal when tracking tangible items through the process itself. So they're ideal for the products or transactions, but not for things that have a high amount of variation or intangible items like customers' calls. So let's go over an example of what a value stream map might look like, and here are the different parts and break those down as well. So the value stream map might look something like this, where it basically represents the overall flow, where things flow into the process, and it tracks down here all the different elements like the amount of inventory, the cycle time, the amount of value-added and non-value-added cycle time, number of people involved, all that sort of thing throughout the overall process leading back to the customer again. So to break down some of these different components, here are some of the basic shapes that are usually used within the value stream map. Like these first shapes reflected here is the publisher and final customer. These usually represent the customer, the supplier, who is interacting with the process itself. And next you might see these shapes like these triangles that reflect the items that are in queue or inventory, or the work in process, the WIP. Also, you'll have these boxes on here that reflect the key process elements and the cycle time and the number of operators for performing those parts of the process. And then beneath that, you'll see some tracking here for the actual cycle time for the items that are non-value added, those items that are listed up here on top, and then the items that are value added will be listed here underneath of the process itself.
Now let's look at an example where two value stream maps were used in a project in order to illustrate and track the opportunity for improving a travel payment process.
So what I'll show you now is an example of the value stream map for a project that I had worked, and basically this is how the ugly as-is or current state of the value stream map, how it looked in the beginning, where in this case it reflected how the customer had submitted the travel requests and the vouchers, and how it went through lots of different areas and processes, and there was a lot of inventory, high amount of time and waiting that was a part of this entire process. Overall, here's some of the different characteristics related to this as-is state of the problem. There were about 4 days on average for processing the travel voucher, and 1% of the vouchers were actually misrouted or lost. 23% of the vouchers that were received were actually duplicates, and 4% of the duplicates that were received were paid in error. And we were also receiving about 30,000 calls a month from the customers who were submitting these travel requests. Now, the executive over this particular group at the time, their original solution was, we just need to add more operators to the existing process in order to help improve the overall time and efficiency for this process. Well, that solution would have definitely worked. If we added more people to the process, they definitely would have increased the amount of efficiency that they were experiencing. But there's obviously a cost associated with adding more operators. So instead we composed this value stream map, and at the end built this future state, this to-be state. After creating this to-be state and working with a team of folks to help implement this, here are the overall results. Basically, we were able to modify the process for 13 of the operators that were involved in the process. By doing that, it significantly reduced the wait time and the motion and defects that were being experienced in the process. For example, here were some of the results. the actual process time was reduced from 4 days for producing this voucher down to 8 hours. The actual wait time was reduced from over 5 hours to less than an hour. And we reduced the travel call volume, which was about 30,000 calls a month, we reduced that by 25%, as well as we eliminated the ability of getting any duplicate vouchers. In other words, we implemented a poka-yoke into the process to help prevent duplicate vouchers from being received. So overall, by mapping out the value stream map in this before, or the as-is state and the to-be state, we could see the overall impact and experience huge results out of this new process that was designed, and we're able to make the process much more efficient without having to add more bodies to gain that efficiency.
All right, before we close this lesson, let's discuss how we can apply some of these concepts in a practical way.
Well, I'd like you to identify at least one process that you interact with regularly, a process that has many sub-processes with measurable steps in it. And then what I'd like you to do is build a value stream map for that process. And as you do that, be sure to track every critical process step and their value added as well as their non-value added cycle times. Also notate any inventory, such as work in process at each process step, and the number of operators and the amount of time those operators spend at each process step. And then next, I'd like you to include any additional information that could help in measuring each of those process steps. Then I'd like you to ask yourself, what are the process steps that appear to have the most non-value added cycle times? And what process steps appear to have the most inventory or work in process, which could be an indication of a bottleneck in the process. And then finally, what opportunities are there to streamline the process, and how much more efficient could it be?
Well, that wraps up this lesson. Check out StatStuff.com for many more resources that can help you achieve powerful results. I'm Matt Hansen. Thanks for watching.